And that gives me first the opportunity to say a great thank you to Cami for being the mind behind all of this, and also the practical hand very often, and to the people from the university in Colombia, in Bogota, if I'm correct, who are providing us with all the opportunities to host the webinar. So we have two presenters today, and the first presentation will be from the Jesuit Worldwide Learning Program, and we have two invitees to do that presentation for us, which is Isabella Rego, who is there, who is now nicking with her head, and she is the Global Research Director of the Jesuit Worldwide Learning. She teaches digital media for social change at Bournemouth University in the United Kingdom. And she's been working as an academic and a practitioner. She combines both in the field of the use of digital technologies to promote community development in Europe, in Africa, in Latin America, and that for 20 years, which is a long time with a lot of experience. And then we have also Melodie Honen-Delmar. She is the Global Director of Professional Programs and Research Manager, and she holds a Master's in Development Studies from the Graduate Institute in Geneva. She has worked and coordinated local refugee organizations that support refugee access to higher education and that conduct research related to migration, refugees, and education. I will present the second initiative later on. It's just one thing that I want to say. I asked the presenters to stick to the 15 minutes that we had. So as we say in Leuven, I will be the bastard that reminds you of the timetable. I will give you a signal 2 minutes before the end and a signal 1 minute before the end. But please remember, I am your bastard, not the bastard of someone else. It's just to keep the webinar within the possibilities. So I give the floor now to Isabel and Melodie. They have a presentation ready. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Jack. Let me share our screen. There we go. And here, it's the full mode screen. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining us today and for inviting us to this webinar as part of the Kickstarter network, and on behalf of Jesuit Worldwide Learning, we're very happy to present you with this a presentation about Peace Leader Program, promoting peace and reconciliation in Kurdistan, Iraq. So first, let me introduce you briefly what JWL does. So our vision at JWL is to learn together to transform the world. And we hope to do that by providing equitable, high-quality tertiary education to people and communities at the margins. That includes being through poverty, location, lack of opportunity, conflict of forced displacement, so that they can all contribute to the knowledge and voices to a global community of learners, and together we can foster a more peaceful and humane world. So today at JWL, we partner with Jesuit institutions or other mission-aligned institutions to provide various higher education programs, accredited higher education programs. We are offering these programs in 50 community learning centers across 19 different countries to reach marginalized communities using Jesuit education tradition, and we'll talk more about this in the coming slides. And you can see that at JWL, we hope to do that by offering a stackable learning path. So we offer English courses as a foundation to go then to pursue accredited courses, be it through the professional certificate programs, which includes the Peace Leader program, which we'll talk more about today. As you can see here, it's accredited by Hekima College. I believe we have our dean here, so we're pleased to welcome them as well. And they are based in Nairobi. And we also, on the other hand, have academic degrees with a foundational first-year university bachelor with a certificate in liberal studies and BA in sustainable development. And we also have more of these academic programs coming later this year. But today we'll focus on the Peace Leader program, but all of our programs share the same delivery mode and pedagogy, which is anchored in the in Ignatian pedagogy. So first, the Ignatian pedagogical paradigm cycle is what's driving our curriculum and also our delivery mode, because basically we work with the three main elements of the IPP: experience, reflection, and action, to offer a comprehensive and engaging programs. So if we first look at the experience, we see that we first invite students to refer back to their experience in their personal lives, analyze, evaluate what they've experienced, bring this into the classroom to then bring it to a reflective level in usually the final assignment of that week, or in the global discussion. So the global discussions are where peers from all over the world can exchange about the same ideas. And this reflection process then goes to applying what they learn into a practicum. And this circle of experience, reflection, action seek to promote critical thinking as well as critical feeling to understand the content and context of their learning experience. So, but let me go into give you an example of what our global classrooms looks like. So this is actually a screenshot of the Peace Leader students who weekly are invited to share their experience and reflection of the week with peers from all over the world. And that really contributes to enhancing their mobility, because they're traditionally very with low mobility for many of our students. And with this interaction at the global scale, in the global learning community, they're able to build these intercultural exchanges and benefits for this diversity in the global classroom. Locally, they are accompanied by a local on-site facilitator that is usually someone that is recruited from their community and that facilitates the in-group discussion. But so the in-group discussion for the Peace Leader course happen twice a week, and they enable students to reflect about the given topic and also get support from peers. Facilitators are also essential for the care and accompaniment that a teacher can sometimes provide. And they're also essential for following up and making sure that the students go through the program and have the most enriching learning journey. And of course, they are also getting this guidance from the online facilitator, which are in charge of grading and also providing academic accompaniments via the online platform. Now I will give the floor to my colleague Isabella so she can introduce more about our operation in Iraq and how this plays into the Peace Leader course.
Thank you very much, Melody. I also want to acknowledge that Magdalena is here, is our country coordinator in Iraq, but she's blind, so and one of the author of this piece, but she's blind, so she cannot be a panelist today, but she's listening to us. In Iraq, we mainly work in the Kurdistan region that is home to many different ethnic and religious groups. Some of our learning centers are naturally home to quite a homogeneous group of learners. We work in the Domitz camp, for example. There are Syrian refugees. We work in the Kanke camp that hosts IDPs, internally displaced peoples from the Yazidis community. But we also work in some urban contexts, such as Erbil and Sulaimani, where we have students coming from different backgrounds. And when we work in Iraq, we work, as I said, with Syrians, Muslims, Yazidis, Iraq Christians, with people coming, having different cultural and religious background. One important thing to say about Iraq is that these groups have been living together for centuries, in a narrative of peaceful coexistence. So the coexistence is there. However, inter-religious dialogue is not practiced on a daily basis. The way to make this coexistence work is mainly to talk about cultural sensitive religious issues and practices only within one own school. And this is something that I hope we will be able to show how this Peace Leader program challenged this and started changes this dynamic. Next slide, please. In this best practice, we analyze 5 interviews to 5 graduates from different backgrounds in Iraq. And what we wanted to see was to understand the lived experience through the Peace Leader program. Next, please. One of the striking things that we saw when analyzing this and listening to this story is the eagerness for peace as a motivation, like the fascination for this word and concept peace that our graduates and students have in this context. The idea of peace is pretty interesting for us, Syrian refugees. It's that you have been facing a lot of problem, conflicts, trouble. And when you just see a course like for peace, like you gotta commit to it. I'm gonna read aloud many quotes in the next few minutes, because I think they are very, very exemplary of what we are trying to convey today. So when we reflect on how the context, structure, and delivery mode of the Peace Leader program enable graduates to engage in a journey of reconciliation that led to transforming, or could lead to transforming social and cultural environments, nurturing inclusive communities, we see this path, like that starts from a reconciliation with the self that brings inner peace. And then this is the first and fundamental step to then working towards reconciliation with others within your community, their community, and other communities, to then nurturing peaceful societies. Next, please. So as I said, the first step of this path is the reconciliation with the self, and it comes with a better knowledge and consciousness of oneself. For quite some time, I neglected myself. I couldn't be in peace with myself. But after this, I think 2 months, the first 2 months, we focused on that self-awareness, cultural awareness. Maybe understand myself and my thoughts. I could know what I really want in life. I removed that obstacle that was always getting in front of me when I wanted to try something new or follow my goals, and help that help. Yeah, next, please. This work on the self brought inner peace. So the first thing that our graduates recognized is that what they were looking for was peace for themselves. You know, after the genocide, this is the Yazidi community, I thought everybody was just like traumatized and everybody was like in need of peace, maybe inner peace, actually. And so first of all, I want to have an inner peace for myself, do stuff for myself. This regain inner peace comes with some several traits that were nurtured through the program. First of all, the ability to listen to others. Next, Melodie. And be patient. Second, the ability to open up to the community with a duty of care and empathy. And third, this increased level of self-reflection and self-control that ultimately brought self-confidence. Next, please. And this is what enabled our graduates to start working as peace champions in different spheres of life. They mentioned personal life and family tied, extended family tied, how they became role model for an agent of reconciliation in their personal life and families. Next, please. They mention professional life and how they become more able to, for example, manage their classroom, because a lot of them are educators or teachers, or able to solve conflicts and unpacking the reason of these conflicts within their professional context. Next, please. And then they also mention the community at large and how they start actively engaging in their because of time, what I want to do now is to look at very briefly one of the key elements of that or existential competence, how we call it in the best practice, that enable the achievement of reconciliation. Next, please, Melodie. That is intercultural sensitivity. So like what we see in the graduates through the program is this, you know, how many? 2 minutes, yes. It's this cycle that goes from the willingness to interact with other groups and understand more about other groups. And this is, I think, a fascinating dynamic because this is happening in the global classroom first. So as I said, Iraq is like, it has coexistence of different groups, but intercultural dialogue is not so practiced. In the global classroom, with cultures that are so, and religion that are so different from their local context, students start to interact and being exposed to a plurality of experiences and worldviews. And this make them eager to comprehend more about other cultures and religion. And so they bring it back to their own context. And this is not just related to knowing more about what's happening like in social and local communities next door, but also to start a self-reflection on one's own practice and tradition, and ultimately to challenge current practices and power dynamics within their own group. As you know, that we have classes in the religion, and I saw them, all the leaders, like they were just maybe having a luxury life, while the others, all these non-innocent survivors were just deprived from all the rights. And I say, no, I mean, this is something which needs to be stopped here. It encouraged me, actually. This is a very powerful quote, I think. Next, please. So ultimately, these interviews with the graduates show how the Peace Leader Program fostered and facilitated a journey starting with reconciliation, with the inner peace, that leads to and make possible reconciliation with others, both members of one's own group, in groups, and members of out groups. These results, the result of this double reconciliation with the self and with the other, make it possible for our graduates to shift their locus of control and to feel capable of initiating change in their community. as exemplified by many examples in its best practice. And this also brought a renewed sense of community and desire to give back to the community with new expanded borders that goes beyond one's own family, circle of friends, and religion and ethnic ties. And this is one of the most significant impact of the Peace Leader Program in Kurdistan, Iraq. So to sum up, what we have investigated in this best practice was how, like, working on a blended learning model of delivery grained into the IPP, the Ignatian pedagogy, foster inner peace and peaceful community in this specific context. Next one and last one. So if you are eager to know more about this program, we also publish a comprehensive impact report that not just focus on Iraq, but on the other countries in which we work with this program, and like trace different pathway of transformation for our graduates in this program. Thank you very much. That was tough.
Great.
Thank you very much. I admired very much. I was thinking of how much I would have liked to have that tool that you have developed when I was teaching here in Louvain myself. I think you offer the people didactic and pedagogical tools that are far beyond what in my own university is present. And what I liked very much is that you, in a way, you go very high to have a contact with people globally, to then come to the conflict itself. So you don't touch the conflict directly, but you're capable of touching it by coming from above. So it's like a little heart in a certain sense. You move on the sides of the heart and then you duck in again. So thank you very much for this. I'm going to introduce our second.
I upgraded Elise. He's the dean of Hekima College. Maybe he wants just to mention something. He's also part of the initiative they just shared.
Good evening, everyone, or good afternoon.
Elise, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You wanted me to say something, yeah?
Well, you're hosting the program in your institution, yeah?
Exactly, yeah. So we started as online facilitators, and then we ended up being the institution that accredits the Peace Leader course. So we have had some very good experiences connecting with all different centers. And the last part probably is the one that's most important to talk about, because it is really practical and shows the fruit of the course. So what we used to do was to bring together the different groups and have them do their presentation or their practicum. And so it was also our first time to actually have a face-to-face, like a kind of encounter, and to get to hear what are their difficulties and so forth. So in a sense, the course is really impactful because it touches the person. And as they say, they have been in so many troubles, but as they go through the course, they get to identify what are their major issues they are dealing with, whether it is the conflict they have gone through, whether it is the trauma that comes with it, whether it is the misunderstanding in the camps, because sometimes the camps are not homogeneous. The camps, like what you have here in Kakuma, it has so many refugees from different parts of the continent. And so sometimes the tension, people fled from their country, they encounter them in the camp itself. But then what the course does is to actually bring these people together to think about this conflict in a more rational way and in a more tolerant way where they accept each other, which really help them to actually understand the dynamic of the conflict, to understand the prejudices that goes along with it. And then they are able to build together a sense of community. So when they go to the, to the communities to implement what they have learned, I felt it was also a very creative moment, because they get to be challenged with the culture. You see, some of the things that they learned probably doesn't apply in the culture, and try to learn from what the culture has to offer to the course. And I found this very interesting, because not only peace leader is not just teaching, but is also learning from a different context. And I think it is one of the areas that need to be pushed into, so that we can learn more from some of these communities, and also to try to adjust to the conditions. For example, we have had some cases where the course was interrupted, like in Myanmar and in Afghanistan. And it really it makes you feel you are not distant, because there are people you get to know. And so for when they go through troubles, you feel you are connected with them. So it's not like a virtual kind of reality. So it is real. And so because of that, we're able to help out to, to bring together people to understand that this is a difficult moment for them. So we're able also to practice some of the content of the course, and being tolerant with the schedules and so forth, and allowing more time and more space for people to be able to work on their pace, given their context. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elise. Thank you very much. I'm going to go to introduce our second contributor, who is Father Binoy. And if you look him up on the internet, you will see that he is a man with a lot of responsibilities. He is the coordinator of the higher education for Kerala Jesuits. He's the coordinator for the Peace and Reconciliation Network of the Jesuit Conference of South Asia. He is deeply involved in public theology as a mathematician and as a theologian. And he's going to speak now to us about one of the beautiful initiatives that he has taken, which is this periodical Pax Lumina. Binoy, I give you the floor, and we're eager to hear from you.
Okay. Thank you, Jack, for the warm words of introduction. Can you hear me? Good.
Yes.
Welcome to this presentation, and first of all, my sincere thanks to the IAJU Task Force on Peace and Reconciliation for giving me this opportunity to present the works of Pax Lumina. And I'm also glad to see some of my colleagues, George Pateri, the former president of the conference, in fact, who's been inspirational in initiating the Peace and Reconciliation Network, and Denzel of Indian Social Institute, Delhi, who is a close associate of Pax Lumina. And thank you, Father Sunny, my provinceman and director of Loyola institutions in Trivandrum, and the coordinator for apostolic planning of my province. With this, I begin. Introduction. Pax Lumina is a bi-monthly published by the Peace and Reconciliation Network of the Jesuit Conference of South Asia, which was launched in May 2020 during the COVID times, with a view to promoting peace and reconciliation worldwide, and with a special reference to South Asia. The context and the rationale. We live in a world of growing violence. The Russia-Ukraine war is still going on. The cry for peace is heard all over, from individuals, families, communities, war-torn nations, refugees, women, children, and most urgently from the Mother Earth. Consumerism, materialism, terrorism, ethnic conflict, religious fundamentalism, and various kinds of violence are on the increase. South Asia is no exception to this. Military dominance in Pakistan, religious fanaticism in Afghanistan, political instability in Myanmar, civil war in Sri Lanka, dictatorship in China, human trafficking in Nepal, and religious polarization in India are some of the major concerns, and the list goes. In this context, promoting peace and reconciliation is a priority for the Society of Jesus. And as we know, it's a timely response to Decree 1 of the General Congregation 36, that reconciliation is always a work of justice. And the same decree says all our ministries should seek to build bridges to foster peace. And this is also a mission envisaged by the Jesuit Conference of South Asia, JCSA we call, based on the deliberations made in Kandy, Sri Lanka in 2018 and in Ranchi, India 2020. JCSA declared peace and reconciliation the first priority of the conference. And it called for working for this mission at all levels, aligning with the universal apostolic priorities of the Society of Jesus. Since GC32, various peace initiatives have emerged in the conference. In Guwahati in Northeast, in Gujarat, in Delhi, Jamshedpur and Kochi. And in the aftermath of GC36, we tried to bring these initiatives together under the umbrella, under the title of Peace and Reconciliation. In view of operationalizing this mission of the society, a nodal platform was constituted in 2018, which later became the Peace and Reconciliation Network, PRN, in 2021. The specific goal of the network is to promote peace and reconciliation, justice and well-being of all sections of people, especially the vulnerable and the marginalized in the South Asian region. As we know, United Nations was set up to make peace in the post-World War context. Despite the interventions, the threat of a third world war is on the anvil. What is the way out, especially in the context of terrible violences across the globe? The existing mechanisms seem to fail all over. The governments, the politicians, the judiciary, the military remain inefficient and inadequate. And dissatisfied with these present mechanisms, we have initiated Pax Lumina in the conference to generate and disseminate the significance of the mission of peace and reconciliation, both nationally and internationally. Objectives. Pax Lumina aims at, or it aims to promote theoretical studies and build perspectives on peace and reconciliation. To network with similar initiatives worldwide and to engage in deliberations, especially in South Asia. To highlight the resources and contribution of South Asia in building peace and non-violence. To influence policy matters of the countries in favor of the poor and the marginalized. To provide rich resource materials for peace activists. To share the insights and experiences of peace workers across the world that would hopefully inspire our readers across the globe to work for peace and reconciliation. This is a teamwork, or Pax Lumina is a fruit of teamwork. It's a model of collaboration and networking. We collaborate and network with persons, institutes, organizations which are seriously engaged in building peace and reconciliation. We have rulers worldwide and others from all the continents. We have also an array of eminent scholars in our advisory board and editorial board. Dr. Jacob Thomas, a former officer in the Indian Administrative Service, is the editor. The topics are chosen after deliberations and discernment in our regular editorial meetings. Concept notes are prepared in consultation with the board and are sent to prospective authors for their response. We highlight the issues of the invisibles, such as the migrants, the farmers, the tribals, the Dalits, etc. The list goes. And I would like to draw your attention to this list of topics and the cover images which speak about the topics chosen from time to time. And we worked on war in the context of Russia-Ukraine war, focused on global food crisis and justice, dimensions of inequality ever relevant, and that says pandemic special issue on peace, and reconciliation is the latest issue. Life without limits, focusing on the physically challenged, technology and peace in the context of artificial intelligence and ChatGPT, religion and peace, which is very, very relevant globally, and certainly with a special reference to South Asia, where there are various religions in existence, global economic imbalances and the poor, justice for migrants. So this justifies our option and priority, certainly in consonance with the universal apostolic priorities and also the conference priority of peace and reconciliation. Operationalization. One of the effective means of promoting peace and reconciliation is to enhance civil societies and cultivate alternative narratives. There is a hunger for peace everywhere among people of goodwill, and certainly this is our experience when we contact people from different continents. The question is how to mobilize the people's positive vibes into action. Academicians, activists, scholars and writers join together in this platform or this venture. Pax Lumina does not confine itself to mere thinking and writing. We also offer training programs in peace studies. We have enlisted renowned resource persons with profound professional competence and expertise. 4 batches have successfully completed training in peace and reconciliation. I gratefully acknowledge the contributions and collaboration of Indian Social Institute Delhi and the Center for Peace and Justice in XLRI Jamshedpur in this venture of training ambassadors of peace. The modules of peace studies include understanding peace, dealing with conflicts, justice and human rights, identity and peace, art, science and peace, inner peace, etc. Project work is a major component of peace studies program. All the trained are now serving as mediators of peace in their local contexts. Peace clubs. Setting up peace clubs in secondary and tertiary education is another important means of building peace in the younger generation. This is facilitated by the Jesuit Higher Education Association of the conference, as well as the Jesuit Education Association of the conference. Impact of Pax Lumina. Here I'll be just referring to 2 responses. Pax Lumina is an e-magazine, digital magazine which has worldwide readership, I repeat. It has free online access for maximum dissemination, including Maxter. We make use of the global Jesuit network for its reach. With regard to its impact, as I said, I quote 2 responses, one from Professor Shiv Vishwanathan, who is a Hindu scholar from India, a renowned writer. And in one of the recent editorial pages of the New Indian Express, dated 24 May 2023, he wrote, "The return of civil society is imperative, and the Jesuit journal Pax Lumina captures such a vision of peace built around a South Asian imagination." I take this up with a lot of humility as well as satisfaction or positive vibes because of this response from a prominent Hindu scholar. Second, by Ted Peters, a well-known scientist theologian from California, who is also a member of the editorial, advisory board of Pax Lumina. He appreciates it in his blog Pathos as a model of public theology. And to conclude, there is a context that demands action. And we don't have ready-made solutions for all the conflicts. Pax Lumina is engaged in an ongoing search for finding ways and building perspectives. More and more people are getting involved in this process, in this platform. And we hope this platform would bring in clarity in our search for solutions, foster a fraternity of Jesuits and laity working for peace and reconciliation, and ultimately to usher in a culture of peace globally and locally. And let me express my gratitude once again to the IAJ Task Force and Christian Network, Fathers Edgar George and Vernon representing the General Curia, and Father Stani, the president of JCSA, our conference, Father Matthew, our provincial, and colleagues and collaborative institutes like Indian Social Institute Delhi and Center for Peace and Justice XLRI Jamshedpur. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Father Binoy. It was a very neat presentation. I was very touched by your emphasis on the construction of alternative narratives, and your emphasis also through one of the references to this Indian scholar on the importance of imagination. And when I saw the covers of Pax Lumina, I said, well, they know how to do it. So thank you very much for that, also that accent. We are now going to have some time for some questions. Elias will take over from me here. You can write questions also in the chat. I'm correct, Cami? You can write questions in the chat in Spanish or in English, but I give the floor to Elias.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Binoy, and thank you, Melodie and Isabella. So the experiences are different, although very rich, both of them. So, and I think right now they inspire us to address two questions that we have written down in the chat, okay? But you can write, as Jack has mentioned, you can write any comment, any question that you'd like to address to the panelists. But we could start with these two questions. The first one is, what are the elements of Ignatian spirituality, the added value of a Jesuit institution working for peace, or Jesuit initiative working for peace, like these two that we have addressed today, no? The Peace Leader Program of JWL and the Pax Lumina periodical regarding to peace initiatives. What do we see of Ignatian approach in these two initiatives? What is key? What is the added value of the Ignatian approach in these two initiatives? How do you see that these two initiatives add the value of a Jesuit Ignatian approach? So this is the first question. And the second one would be how to collaborate in the line of what Binoy was mentioning before, how to collaborate with these two initiatives worldwide, because both initiatives are really international. So how can we see ourselves with our institutions in our work, cooperating with these two initiatives? Okay, so the Ignatian added value first, and second, how to collaborate. So the floor is open for anyone who would like to take the floor.
Maybe I can start, and then Melody, I'll give you the floor. I do think that one of the things that is like very powerful of how JWL operates and is very Ignatian is like that can be summed up with the motto "Men and Women for Others," is that we have an holistic approach to the person and to education. So like in emergency settings, often, especially professional courses, are focused on employability skills. And obviously for us, like the fact that our graduates can have a job and sustain themselves after having have been graduated is important. But I hope that what we were showing is that, like in our presentation, is that it's not just about that. It's not just about getting skills that can be spent in the job market. That is the kind of mainstream approach. It is about nurturing the human being, and therefore, like then nurturing societies and the world. So I think higher level is this, and then I want to ask Melody if she wants maybe to say a little bit more, because about the delivery model itself, we rushed a little bit on it, and how each element of it has got the IPP ingrained in it, and is this repetitive cycle in which experience, reflection, and actions are experienced by the students in different elements of the course that like trigger these holistic transformations. So I don't know if Melody wants to add something about it.
Sure. Thanks, Isabella. Yeah, so I think we really see the Ignatian pedagogy value of our work, I would say, as we said, so not only in the curriculum and having practicum or projects in all of our courses, specifically the Peace Leader one, where we found in the report that we shared earlier that the practicum is really essential in building the competencies and applying the knowledge for the community, helping with the idea of basically building men and women for others, caring for the community. And so that's the curriculum side, but also what differentiates us from perhaps other blended learning models or online models is that there's an accompaniment of the person, of the students throughout the journey, and that is facilitated online and on site. And for me, that's one key essential component also of the of an Ignatian education mode, because there is this care for the holistic person, as Isabella said, not only professionally, but holistic in terms of personal development. And we see a lot, especially for the Peace Leader program, where it's not only about gaining knowledge to solve local conflicts, but also to find this inner peace. So this is how I think we can answer this question of how this Ignatian pedagogy is embedded in the work of Jesuit Worldwide Learning. I guess for the collaboration, in general, I think JWL is always open and actually works also based on partnerships. So for instance, like we have with Hekima College, with Father Elise, we always collaborate in various aspects of the program, but also with local partners. We collaborate actually in Kerala as well, in India, in Njengo, and also we all partner with universities as well in India for other programs like in Chennai,
in Chennai,
Bangalore, usually Jesuit institution as well.
in Bangalore.
With JWL, I think the term that was coined earlier is mission-aligned institutions, and basically we come all together to provide higher education at the margins. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel, Melody. Before giving you the floor, Father Binoy, Elise, would you like to add something? How do you see the link? Because I mean, what you have said, Isabel and Melody, I think is very rich. The links that you make with the Ignatian tradition, the Jesuit tradition, really rich. A lot to learn from you. So, Elise, would you like to add something that you consider to be relevant as well?
I was trying to connect. Yeah, there is a very strong link, as the pedagogy has shown in the presentation of Melody. The care for the person, for example, is very, very impactful in the transformation of the people who come from a very difficult situation to going through the process of reconciliation, inner reconciliation, and then reconciling with others. There is also the point on critical thinking, and she added something that I really liked the most, the emotional, critical emotion. So, because we tend just to focus on the rational, but I think the emotion also plays a big role in terms of really being compassionate with others and trying to understand, to put ourselves in their footprints, to understand what they go through. And so this has really been impacted, facilitators both on-site and online, because they realized it's not just giving a course, but in the process, they get also transformed, and they have come to like it, especially those I work with who are online facilitators from our side. I could see that has been very transformative. It ended up becoming part of life. And then there is also the evaluation we do at the end. People see the practical. You'll get to see that is part of the exam in Ignatian spirituality that is brought in other terms to bear to, to the way we conduct this course. So those are the main points. There are so many other details that I can add, but I think that
También hay otros aspectos, otras cosas que
Thank you very much. Yes, I was touched also for the self-criticism of the 5 steps of intercultural dialogue. The 4th step is self-reflection with a critical viewpoint. I think this connects very much with the spiritual examen of St. Ignatius, and I think it's really a key point in interreligious dialogue and conflict transformation and so on. So that was the point that I really called my attention. And also from Father Binoy, it called my attention. So a criteria that is very clear for the Jesuit mission, when we choose a Jesuit mission, that is to go where other people are not working. You were calling them invisible, those who are invisible and nobody is going to them. That is a wonderful criteria, I think, of a Jesuit discernment, where we have to go. So what would you like to add, please?
Okay. I was just thinking, how to articulate the Ignatian dimensions. When we publish something to a multi-religious context. But honestly, this is truly Ignatian and purely Ignatian. Why? Referring to the principle and foundation of the spiritual exercises, for Ignatius, the major concern is God, world, and the humans, and how to glorify God, from God and to God. And this interrelatedness is so much inbuilt in the discernment process of choosing topics for Pax Lumina, as well as for the mission of promoting peace and reconciliation. Again, when we move to the discernment dimension, which already Elias highlighted, Pax Lumina is a discerning stuff. It's not a static product that we are giving. We are enabling our readers and the writers and the authors to reflect on realistically into the events and experiences of our life, and provide insights how to address this. So this is a discerning process is all through in the editorial board meetings, and priority is always to the society's priorities, universal apostolic preferences, and how to enable our writers by providing a concept note so that they discern on the topic and reward. So and going more deeper into it, you can also draw a parallel to the Ignatian pedagogical approach. From a contemporary perspective, the topics taken are technology and peace, war, or these are interdisciplinary. But underlining the dynamism is that of the experience, reflection, action, as that's been highlighted elsewhere and in JWL, because the articles are experience-based and action-oriented. That's a must for us, not just theoretical jargons we are promoting, but experience-based, field-based. Even for offering the courses in peace studies, project work is a major component. So from that point of view, it is Ignatian from a pedagogical point of view. And finally, with responding to the collaboration, and I repeat, Pax Lumina exists in collaboration, and without that, it would not be materialized. And it opens up the doors and the possibilities of collaboration worldwide. And I'm glad that it is happening day by day. It's on an increase. It's being fostered. Many people are joining us, networking with us, collaborating with us. When the mission is a noble one or a timely one, when people are aware of the need of it, they would definitely share our vision and collaborate with us, whether that's persons or institutes or organizations. That's been my experience for the past 3 years. So the window is always open.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think you are touching, the four of you, something that is relevant. I think, yes, the Ignatian pedagogical paradigm is a process that
Esto es algo relevante porque el paradigma ignaciano es un proceso
conciliation through the 5 steps of the Ignatian pedagogical
de los 5 pasos del paradigma, y es algo muy sensible a los.
I think something there is very interesting, because a key element in the Ignatian approach, I think, is related to discernment in reconciliation processes and how to do it step by step. I think the Ignatian pedagogical paradigm can give some light. Okay, thank you very much. So there are 2 people who have mentioned something in the chat, Eduardo Soto and Esteban Ocampo. So would you like to please to address the panelists?
We have to open their microphones, Elias.
Okay.
Thank you so
Eduardo, adelante, hermano.
Sí.
much for
Quizás la conexión, Eduardo, en Venezuela no es buena. Si tú quieres, yo planteo la pregunta que tú...
Mejor.
Perfecto, hermano. Vale. Eduardo has problems from Venezuela. a Jesuit companion, has problems with the connection over there, and he is saying, okay, something, how to, so the cultural linguistic barriers, how to bring all these expertise to Venezuela. So how to bring that. So is Venezuela too far? Can we do something to reach to Venezuela? Because Venezuela is in a real critical situation, as we know, worldwide. So how we can put all these services, all these assets at the service of the context there in Venezuela. This is one question coming from him. And from Esteban Ocampo, what is the role of emotional competencies in both programs? Esteban, ¿quieres comentar algo, hermano? ¿Quieres comentar algo? Y después recogemos las dos preguntas para el eco que quieran dar los panelistas. Esteban, ¿estás por ahí? ¿Quieres comentar? Esteban, are you there? Would you like to comment? Okay, so what is the role of emotional competencies in both programs? First question. And second, how to bring all these to Venezuela, where we have so a linguistic, difference, okay? How to bridge. Any of you that would like to, to answer, to comment?
I can start, and then anyone can add to that. So right now at JWL, we offer most of our courses in English, and we offer English courses. As I said earlier, we have a global English program, which is accessible for free, as all our courses are, and we just need to start an English program. We just need a teacher, and then JWL will send the relevant books and materials. But that's still English. However, at the moment, we are also working with PUAM, the Pontifical University of Las Americas, to develop a Spanish accredited program. So basically translate our programs. And I believe one of them is Peace Leader program. Another one is ecotourism. Ecotourism for sure. Peace Leader, I have a doubt, but we are so in the process of translating some of those programs to also offer them in Spanish. So perhaps if this is something interested to you or interesting to your context, then you can feel free to reach out to us, and we can give you the relevant information for how to offer those courses in your context. I can perhaps add my email into the box. Yes.
Okay. Elias, could you unmute? You are not heard.
Thank you, Binoy. Ahead, please.
Okay. I see a few questions in the chat box. Can I respond now?
Yeah, great.
I'm very glad to see my friend Giovanni Calvano over there from Bogota. In fact, we met in Boston, and he has been really facilitating a few articles like stalwarts like Edward Lopez from the Javeriana University over there. And I appreciate his question whether space is provided in Pax Lumina to open up contribution of articles to students. Definitely. Pax Lumina would be extremely happy to open up, and we have been publishing, for example, students of Nairobi institutes, both graduates and postgraduate students have been contributing. and like elsewhere from various continents. So Giovanni, the good news is that we are very warmly welcome your students and professors or faculty members of the faculty because thinking peace and acting peace in the academics is also very important. Second, I see another question. I think areas of the dean asked the question from hi Elias, Peace Club. Well, in my presentation, I highlighted that after General Congregation 32, there emerged, various peace attempts, peace and reconciliation attempts in our conference. For example, in the northeast of India, in Gujarat, in Delhi, I said, and in Jamshedpur. And since then, for more than a decade, I believe, and probably my colleague Denzel Fernandez of Indian Social Institute, Delhi, who can contribute more towards it because they are running peace clubs, not only in schools, but even in the villages and communities. So this is a pretty broader idea. And when we initiated the Peace and Reconciliation Network, that's been more reaffirmed, the need of it is more reaffirmed, and we are in the process of initiating it in all our Jesuit schools and colleges, both in secondary and tertiary education. When we organized workshop for the members of the faculty in the Educational Association of South Asia in Bangalore, that's been highly supported, and we had a discernment workshop where we came out with guidelines for setting up peace clubs in schools, colleges, and communities. That's for envisaging a year ahead. We have the action plan, and we have coordinators of networks in each province, and they are the facilitators in consultation with the principals or the concerned persons responsible in schools and colleges. So this is during the COVID times, we couldn't do much. Now it's all the more, we are in it. And from the experience of Father Denzel, I'm sure the hundreds of peace clubs which he runs across North India have been so much impactful and highly promising in multiple ways. This is my quick response, yes. And I would appreciate Denzel to add a couple of words if you are around. Thank you.
Thank you, Binoy. So you were inviting to Giovanni to talk, Binoy?
Denzel.
Yes, I keep in touch, and I'll continue to.
I'll open up the microphone of Denzel. That's the person you mentioned.
Okay. Oh, right. Denzel, could you unmute?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Here, though we
cannot see you, but we can hear you.
Okay. Yes, we at Indian Social Institute have been engaged in running peace clubs in schools as well as communities, village communities in 7 states in India, mainly Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, and Odisha. So over here, what we do is we just finished a workshop just last week, and we have been trying to have various programs and peace meetings in the schools. One of the ideas of having these peace club meetings is to appreciate diversity, because one of the critical points of conflict is assertion of identities, and there are various attempts made by vested interests who try to create violence by assertion of identities, demonizing other communities, and so on. So our main focus is trying to create a culture of peace I like the JWL presentation on intercultural sensitivity. So it has something to do with that. But here it is not only intercultural, but we have different castes. So inter-caste sensitivity for us, inter-religious sensitivity, celebration of various festivals together. That means all communities celebrate Christmas, Diwali, Eid, and so on, and various other activities like that in the schools. And in villages also, where there are conflicts based on caste, religion, ethnicities, and so on, we try to bring people together so that they realize that we are all, we may have different religions and we may have different identities, but these identities are not something that we should use against others, but we should consider difference as an enrichment rather than a threat. So this is the main idea that we have been promoting for the last few years, and we are continuing this time. But this time we are also trying to collaborate with other networks, because we also have other networks like the Lokmanch network, which deals with the rights and entitlements of people. We have the Peace and Reconciliation Network. We have the Jesuit Social Center. So trying to make peace an overarching priority, not only for those engaged in peace building work, but also for other social engagements in the South Asian assistancy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Denzil. Very interesting. Also, these initiatives that you are mentioning, I mean, they are triggering so many questions in me that I love to know more about them. So maybe one day, so you could share much more in depth with this initiative and network. So thank you. Now it's time. We are over the time and we need to close. Okay, close. We are going to do in a very simple way. So we thank to everyone for being here. If we can, we open the cameras, just to see our faces and to say thank you. And I invite you, all of you, to put one word as an echo of this gathering that we have had today. In the chat, write a word, one word, Spanish, English, that you that resonates at the end of this encounter. So a word to share as an echo of this encounter. Gracias. Culture of peace. Thank you. God, fascinating. Estimulante. Gracias. Connections. Enriquecedor. Hope, esperanza. Agua fresca para mis oídos. Conexión. Discerning reconciliation. Promising hope. So, in a compromiso, engagement. So thank you to all for this gathering. Thank you especially to our panelists. We encourage you with all the good work and service that you are doing. Thank you for sharing it today, and we will continue sharing it. So compromiso, hopefulness also, as written Elena. So thank you to everyone. We keep in touch in this network, Reconcilia Net, and this panel of best practices. Susana could not be with us, Di Troglio could not be with us today, but she's also behind this initiative, a collaborative initiative of Yahoo International Association of Jesuit Universities. So we keep in touch together, making this type of embrace of the whole globe, healing the globe with embracing our earth. Okay, so thank you very much. God bless and all the best. All the best. Thank you, Binoy. Thank you, Elise. Thank you, Isabel, Melody, and the rest of the companions. Cami, thank you for the support, and Jack as well. Thank you to everyone. Have a good day, good night, or good morning. Okay, all the best. God bless. Thank you. We keep in touch.